Today, we're going to dive into one of the most incredible stories from the Shrimad Bhagavatam. It's a story that has everything: a young boy, a really powerful god, and a mountain that, believe it or not, becomes the heart of a spiritual revolution. It's a story that completely challenged the way people thought about worship.
And that really gets us to the big question for this whole explainer. How can just one single act of defiance, something that happened thousands of years ago, completely flip our understanding of faith, of community, and even our connection to the world around us? Well, let's find out. So let's set the scene. We're in the land of Braj. It's an agricultural place, so, life pretty much revolves around the weather, especially the rains. For generations, the villagers had this huge annual ceremony, a puja for Lord Indra, the god of rain and storms. And this wasn't just some quaint tradition. It was seen as absolutely essential, a kind of transaction born out of fear and total dependence.
But a young Krishna, well, he saw things a little differently. This slide here, it just perfectly lays out the choice he presented. On one side, you have the old way, appeasing this powerful, distant god, mostly because you're scared of him. But then, Krishna comes along and proposes something totally radical. He argues, hey, why are we worshiping someone so far away? Why don't we worship the very thing that takes care of us every single day, Govardhan Hill? This was a game changer. It wasn't just about who they worshipped, but why. Krishna was basically showing them a whole new path, one not based on fear, but on Bhakti, a direct, loving devotion to the divine presence that was right there, actively nurturing them.
Now, you can probably guess that this little change in plans did not go over well. Lord Indra, the king of heaven, he felt completely disrespected. His authority was being challenged by a village boy. And, as you can imagine, his pride kicked in, leading to a truly terrifying showdown.
Indra was furious. He decided he was going to teach the people of Braj a lesson they would never forget. So he unleashed his ultimate weapon, the Samvartak, basically a cloud of total destruction, and ordered it to just flood the entire land and wipe out everyone who dared to defy him.
And for 7 days and 7 nights, think about that, an entire week, a non-stop catastrophic storm just hammered the land. The rains were so intense it was like the sky itself was falling apart. This was Indra's pride on full, terrifying display, a show of force meant to completely crush the villagers' spirit.
So how did Krishna respond? Not with anger, not with force, but with this incredible, calm, divine power. He just walked right over to Govardhan Hill and, with the tip of his little finger, lifted the entire mountain up like it was nothing. He turned the very thing they were now worshiping into their ultimate shelter. It was an act of pure, effortless protection.
Okay, so after 7 days, the storm finally passes, the clouds clear. And what happens next is this incredibly profound moment of realization, not just for the god who had been humbled, but for all the people who had just been saved.
Indra's whole experience here is just a perfect example of the theory of karma, right? His action, which was driven by pure arrogance, led directly to a consequence he never saw coming. His power meant absolutely nothing. He was completely humiliated. Now that's karma in action. It's not about punishment, it's about a cosmic rebalancing. And it led to this huge realization for him, so much so that he actually came down from the heavens to ask Krishna for forgiveness.
But here's an interesting twist. This event had an unintended consequence for the villagers, too. I mean, they just watched the King of Heaven himself bow down to their friend, so they couldn't see him as just their beloved Kanaya anymore. That easy, close friendship started turning into a more distant, formal reverence. And for Krishna, who values that personal, sweet kind of love, that bhakti, he actually grieved the loss of that simple friendship. It was now replaced by the kind of awe you'd reserve for a king.
This whole incredible event really cemented Govardhan Hill's divine status. It went from being just a piece of the landscape to a living, breathing object of worship, and that tradition is still going strong today.
And here, right here, is the theological mic drop. During the festival, Krishna just laid it all out. As the scripture says, he took on this huge, amazing form and declared, "I am Govardhan Mountain." He made it crystal clear, when you worship the mountain, you are worshiping me directly. This wasn't some metaphor. He was saying they are one and the same.
And this belief is brought to life so beautifully every single year during the Annakut festival. People make a representation of the mountain god Giriraj out of cow dung. They cook up this incredible feast of 56 different dishes, the chapan bhog, and they ceremonially feed it to the effigy. Then they walk around it, an act of worship called parikarma.
It's literally a living continuation of that very first Govardhan Puja.
But the legacy here is so much bigger than just the ritual. That decision, that choice to worship the mountain, it planted the seeds for a really profound ecological philosophy. And now we get to see how this ancient story speaks so directly to us, right here, right now.
Govardhan Hill is a perfect example of what we now call a sacred eco-heritage site. These are places where spirituality, culture, and ecology are just completely intertwined. They're not just spots for worship, they are living libraries holding generations of traditional knowledge.
And as you can see from this map, the Braj region isn't just one spot on a map. No, it's a huge cultural landscape, a whole network of sacred hills, forests, rivers, you name it. For the people who live here, nature itself is divine. It's a landscape that's literally brought to life by myths and art and pilgrimage.
And because these natural places are seen as sacred, so much traditional knowledge has been saved. The belief that everything has a spirit, that's animism. It creates this deep sense of respect. And that respect has helped preserve incredible knowledge about things like local plant medicine, sustainable farming, and water conservation. So in a very real way, worshiping nature has helped to protect it.
And this brings us all the way back around to a final, pretty big thought. The story of Govardhan is so much more than a myth. It's a timeless lesson in what we choose to value. It teaches us that maybe true devotion isn't about trying to please some distant, powerful force. Maybe it's about nurturing a real, loving relationship with the world that gives us life. So, in our age of ecological crisis, this ancient story leaves us with a pretty vital question. What if the most profound act of worship we could ever perform is simply to take care of the world that takes care of us?